If you're an ADHDer like me, chances are you've experienced some form of time blindness when it comes to your schedule. Maybe you struggle with time estimation and you've found yourself thinking that you can totally clean and organize an entire garage on a Saturday morning before your kid has a soccer game. Or maybe you struggle with time perception and the inability to recognize the passage of time, and at some point you've found yourself spending far too much time organizing your sock drawer. Struggles with time are incredibly common for those of us with ADHD. In fact, when I surveyed my community in August, 67% of respondents said that they struggle with keeping a schedule. 58% said that they spend too much time on projects that don't necessarily need it, and 50% said that they struggle with being late or not scheduling enough time for projects. This is precisely why on today's episode of the ADHD Mompreneur, I want to share with you 4 free time management tools that you can start using right after you finish listening to this episode so you can better manage your time as an ADHD mom and entrepreneur. But before I share my top time management strategies, I'd like to take a minute to introduce myself just in case you're new here. I'm Christy Lingo, and I am the ADHD Mompreneur. I'm a 2-time mom and 2-time entrepreneur. I have also been diagnosed with ADHD. I work as an executive function and accountability coach for ADHD mom business owners looking to juggle building a successful business with raising a family. If you'd like to learn more about how my coaching programs can help and support you as an ADHD mom and entrepreneur, be sure to visit theadhdmompreneur.com. And while you're there, pick up my free 11 essential checklists for ADHD mompreneurs. When you combine the executive functions involved with managing your time, decision-making, planning, organizing, prioritizing, along with struggles with time estimation and time perception, you have the perfect conditions for struggles with time management. And this information can be very helpful for those of us ADHDers in understanding why we struggle with managing our time, along with what, if anything, can be done to improve it. Today, I'm sharing 4 time management strategies that are easy to implement and don't involve you purchasing any equipment or subscriptions, and that can really make an impact in how you manage and use your time. Let's start with ways that you can see or externalize the passage of time. We talked about ADHDers struggling to sense or feel the passage of time. And because of this, it's really important for those of us with ADHD to find ways outside of our bodies to signal the passage of time. This could involve something as simple as moving an analog clock into a space where you're working. Or you could try using something like a time timer when you are involved in activities where you frequently find that you hyperfocus and lose track of how much time has passed. You could also externally signal the passage of time by using a timer to shut the TV off when you would like to go to bed, or schedule your lights to come on when it's time for you to wake up. Or maybe you could use an app timer or app blocker to signal to your brain that you have spent plenty of time on Instagram today. Next, create a task time list. It is much easier to figure out how long a task takes if you actually know how much time a task takes. And as I said previously, ADHDers are notorious for underestimating how long a task may take to complete or overestimating the amount that they can complete in a given time. which is precisely why having a list that details the exact amount of time it takes you to complete a certain task can be so useful to someone with ADHD. It can be literally as simple as looking at the clock when you sit down to write an email, jotting down that time, and then looking again when you've finished to know how long it took you. Or you could start the stopwatch on your phone when you start the dishes in the sink and then stop it and record that time when you are finished. Knowing how much time a task actually takes you to complete creates the necessary awareness that you need in order to block out the appropriate amount of time in your schedule. Since our ADHD time estimator isn't so great. And a quick way to get a jump start on your task time list is by using the Goblin Tools app or by visiting goblin.tools/estimator. Simply enter in the task you would like to complete, and it will give you a rough estimate of how long that task may take. Now, you might be way faster or slower than Goblin Tools estimates, which is totally fine. This is just sort of a baseline estimate for you to start with. Remember, you're trying to create an awareness around how long a task takes so that you can schedule the proper amount of time to get it done. It's not about comparing yourself to others and worrying that you are doing it too slowly. Next, you need to build in margin or a buffer zone to your schedule. I don't think I have a single coaching client that did not have their schedule jam-packed from the moment they wake up in the morning until the time they go to bed at night when we first started working together. Appointment after appointment, slamming into each other all day long with no room to breathe and no space if you hit traffic on your way to an appointment or if your kid forgets their violin and they happen to have a playing test that day at school. Some of this is due to our deficient time estimation, which is telling us that we can pack way more into an allotted time than is actually possible. Or our time perception fails us when we get lost working on a project or lunching with a friend, which in turn causes us to arrive late to our next scheduled task or appointment. It could also be due to our people-pleasing nature. If you happen to see last week's episode on ADHD and people-pleasing with Dr. Julie Schaefer, you may recognize that your schedule is jam-packed because you struggle to say no to people because you want them to be happy or you want them to think you're part of the team. But regardless of what is causing your overpacked schedule, we cannot get a handle on our time management if we don't start to build in some buffer. Think of it like an emergency fund for your time. If you don't need it, great. You're a busy mom and entrepreneur. I am pretty sure you can find something to fill that found time. And if you do need to use that extra time you've set aside for your mom life or for your business life, it will have less of an impact on the rest of your day or the rest of your week. And finally, if you're like me and regularly need shook out of your hyper-focus, you need to set alarms and reminders. When my husband bought me a first-generation Alexa many moons ago, I doubt that he thought that the primary use in our household would be setting alarms and reminders throughout the day to help with mine and my son's time management. But alas, here we are. And I am so grateful for these regular reminders. In fact, when I sat down to write this episode, I made sure to set an alarm for 15 minutes before my next coaching call was starting so that I didn't get hyper-focused in writing and forget to log on to my call. Setting that alarm gave me a chance to transition from writing a podcast, Christy, to coaching Christy. It gave me the space that I needed to fill up my water cup or go to the bathroom. It also allowed me to review my notes from my previous call with this client and come up with any questions that I want to talk about for this week. And since I know from my task time list that all of these things actually take me about 10 minutes, I built myself in a 5-minute buffer so that I could wrap up what I was writing and have plenty of time to execute all the things before my call. See how this all starts to work together? As with so many ADHD characteristics, I truly believe that there are tactics and strategies that you can employ to help improve your life in areas like time management, especially if they are causing you stress or anxiety. I'm curious if you have any ADHD time management tips that maybe I didn't mention today. You can drop your ADHD time tip or any questions that you have about ADHD time management in the comment section below. And if you're not watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, you can always email your tips and questions to Christy at theadhdmompreneur.com. And while you're down in the comments, why don't you go ahead and hit the follow or subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes, like next week, where we will chat about another ADHD time tactic, time investments. You know, they talk about an ADHD tax being something like having to pay a late fee because you forgot to pay a bill, or not feeling like fixing the food you bought at the grocery store, so you order takeout, which is 3 times as expensive. Well, ADHD investments might cost you a little bit up front, but they could end up saving you time and money in the future. I hope you'll be back next week, and until then, keep making your ADHD journey part of your success story. If you're a business-owning mom with ADHD, you're going to need to grab my free, customizable essential checklists for ADHD mompreneurs by visiting bit.ly/checklists for ADHD mompreneurs, or by following the link in the episode description. Do it now, before you forget. Until next time.